This is TD Benton. I am the dreamer and the creator of the Traveling White Collar Sideshow, which is a performance based on addictions, hidden addictions, and the struggles that people have in their lives. The objective is to challenge the audience with honesty, integrity, passion, and purpose, and to show other people that you're not alone, that everybody deals with something, and the more that we express ourselves through encouragement, inspiration, and challenging each other, that we realize we're not alone and we can help each other through our experiences that we have. I started smoking cigarettes around 7th grade, and the reason that I did was a lot of my friends were involved. I was definitely a follower, not a leader, and whatever my buddies would do, I would do. I remember getting cigarettes and stealing cigarettes, going out with my buddies, sneaking out and smoking all the time, football games, basketball games, whatever I could do. I was always smoking cigarettes. And cigarettes actually became a huge part of my life. Even if I didn't act like I was addicted to them, I would always light up somewhere and, you know, just to show people that I could do whatever I wanted. Really just lighting up all the time. If there was a football game, basketball game, I skateboarded a lot, so we would always carry them with us. And everywhere we went, I was always smoking cigarettes. That led over to actually smoking cigarettes through high school, and when I graduated high school, smoked so long that at the age of 19, one of my lungs collapsed. I went to the emergency room. I worked at a factory where you could smoke at the factory. It's probably up to about a pack a day. Doctor says, your lung has collapsed. And I was like, well, what does that mean, doc? And he says, well, we need to pump it back up. And I was thinking at 19, how could that happen to me? You know, most people don't have problems till they're 50 or 60 smoking cigarettes. So they shoved the needle in my chest, kind of pumped it back up to where it would be normal again. Kind of sent me on my way. We smoked a joint on the way home from the hospital and back to my normal lifestyle, man. I thought the doctor fixed me, no big deal. And a few months later, my lung collapsed again. And I knew what had happened because this is what it feels like. It feels like somebody stabs you in the neck and you can't breathe. And my breathing consisted of wheezing, and thought I was going to suffocate. I go back to see the doctor. He says, man, you know, you need to stop smoking. You need to quit your lifestyle that you've got and turn it around, or this is really going to hurt you. And I kept thinking to myself, yeah, right, man, just pump me back up, no big deal. And he did. He pumped me back up, called my friend. My friend comes and gets me, already has a joint rolled up. Back to our normal lifestyles again. At this point, I got to where I was actually selling a little bit of marijuana and smoking all the time. I was probably up to about a pack and a half a day. Man, that was my life. Cigarettes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Couldn't have a meal without smoking a cigarette after. And, you know, I would always say cigarettes were about $2 back then. And I always say, man, I'm spending my last $2 on death. You know, it's pretty ironic that I ended up in the hospital for it. Well, the third time that my lung collapsed, the doctor came in and said, you know, we're going to have to do something a little different because your lung keeps collapsing, and if this lung collapses, then you'll die instantly because you'll have no place to breathe. And so here I am going, so what does that mean? And he says, well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut you open. We're going to have to cement or kind of glue cement your lung into your rib cage. And I said, what? He said, yeah, and we need to do it pretty quick. And so a couple of days later, I was back at the hospital, and they put me to sleep, and I woke up in a hospital bed with a tube about this big around hanging out of my rib cage. So that tube is connected to a big Sam's Club pickle jar is what it looked like. This big pickle jar. And in this pickle jar looked like brains and pus and pink stuff and juice and black. And it was about half full. I mean, those jars are pretty big. It was about half full. And I'm looking down and I see the stuff draining. And I said, Doc, what's that jar? And he says, well, that's everything that was inside your lung draining out. And I said, how is that possible? He goes, well, you've smoked so long, and whatever it is that you do has been a buildup, and it's had so much weight in your lung, it's caused it to collapse. And that's all the stuff that's draining out, and you can't leave the hospital till it's all drained out. So here I am, stuck in this bed. They do get me out in the wheelchair, but I have to carry this pickle jar with me because that tube can never get above my heart. It has to keep draining. And then finally, after a few weeks, it's all drained out, and the doctor says, okay, this is what I want you to do. I know it's going to be painful. I want you to roll over on your side, and I'm gonna pull that tube out of you. I said, do you think that's safe? Don't you think you need to cut it out or sew me up or something? He said, no, I just want you to roll over. And so I rolled over, and he goes, on the count of 3, I'm going to pull, so hold your breath. And I held my breath, and he pulled instantly, just like that, and just pulled it out of my side, and was the greatest feeling of all time, not to have that tube in me. So my lifestyle didn't change. I mean, I was hurting. I was in a lot of pain from the surgeries. I've got a few scars here and a few scars here. At this point in my life, because of all the pain, I also became addicted to prescription pain medicine, because I would go back to work at the factory and it would hurt to do my job. And I also began smoking weed because it would feel like it would kill the pain for me. And I started smoking cigarettes again. And then this lung collapsed. I knew instantly what had happened. I couldn't breathe. Felt like somebody stabbed me in the neck. Went to visit the doctor. Said, Doc, my lungs collapsed. I couldn't breathe, wheezing. And already in pain still from this one. This was probably a year later. They pumped me back up. Said if it happens again, we're going to have to do the same surgery. Went back to my lifestyle. Called my buddy, already smoking weed. I was up to maybe a pack, half, 2 packs a day smoking cigarettes. And didn't care, man. I thought I could live forever, you know. This one collapsed again, and I had to have the same surgery done, where they cut me open, had a tube sticking out next to a pickle jar. I felt like Frankenstein. It's really what I felt like. And after he pulled the tube out of me again, went back home, stopped smoking cigarettes. Was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. All the drugs that I've ever done, cigarettes were the hardest to stop because they're so accessible. You can get them anywhere. All my buddies had them, and I actually had to get out of the lifestyle that I was in order to stop killing myself, basically. And all that happened from the time I was in 7th grade before I was 25 years old. And I still feel a little bit of the pain sometimes, not from the surgeries, but just from when it's really cold outside, having to take deep breaths, or if it's really hot, having to take deep breaths. I can still feel a little bit of pressure in there. But I haven't done cigarettes, man, since the year 2000.